Hey there YouTube, I'm Ikitsu, this is the Ikitsu Times, welcome to my channel, welcome to another episode of Total War Warhammer 2. So I wanted to talk in particular about one of the neat little changes that happened as a result of everything, and that is mostly going to be focused on Averlorn in this particular case. Now this isn't the actual army, the composition that I ended up using, but yeah, they have access to some pretty new and nifty things that you can definitely make use of. Now, you are going to have to telegraph the fact that you've got these options because you can't choose these options as the generic High Elves. As you can see, they don't have them. In addition, it restricts your Lord choices down to Alariel Radiant and the generics. So, if you're playing as Averlorn, you're going to show your hand a little bit in that you're considering taking some of these elements because there's really no reason to play them otherwise. You could, of course, mind game your opponent, take Averlorn, take a generic Lord, and then just not take the tree units, but it adds interesting dynamics to the Isle faction that they don't really have. So what exactly do I like about the Dryads? Well, they're a generic sword type unit. Now, obviously, they don't really literally use swords, but they're a unit that has good stats all around and are decent in melee combat against other melee combatants. It's basically an infantry designed to fight other infantry. You can sort of compare them in a lot of ways to the Spearmen here. You can see that the Spearmen have less melee attack by a huge amount. They do have more melee defense, making them that superior holding unit. They've got way less weapon strength. The Spearmen do have actually more hit points, but less armor, more leadership, less speed. So there's lots of little things back and forth, but the Dreads, just generally speaking, have a better stat line if you just want to clash into enemy infantry and have them pounded out against one another. Of course, if you're up against armored infantry, that depletes a little bit, but the High Elves do have an extremely efficient new unit here with the Pyrmane Company. And the Pyrmane Company does synergize exceptionally well with Dryads. Being able to strip 30 points of armor off the enemy means that those Dryads are going to be dealing a lot more damage on their attacks, even if you're not against armored foes. The 34 weapon damage on these guys is actually kind of ludicrous for what they really are there. And, I mean, they're a very, very inexpensive unit when you really get down to what they have. They've got lots of physical resistance there, immune to psychology, cause fear, all of those sort of put together, in addition to their relatively decent stat line, means that they're pretty good value. They're very, very durable for considering what you would expect them to be, unless you get hit by flaming attacks, in which case they're screwed. But by sort of mixing them with the Pyrmane Company, they can actually go toe-to-toe with fairly tough, fairly expensive units. Now, any Dreads that are caught out without the Pyrmane Company near them are not going to have a fun time against anything with even a remote tiny bit of armor. And if you don't want to take the Pyrmane Company because you're expecting your opponent to be taking lots of things that are unarmored or lightly armored, like maybe you're up against Wood Elves, then obviously the Dryads, you don't need the Pyrmane Company in that particular case. But yeah, the High Elves do have options that make the Dryads good in a way that the Wood Elves don't even have. We can even go through some of their sort of regiments of renown. Like, they don't have armor sunder on any of them, as far as I remember. Actually, they do on these guys. Okay, well, Wardens of Sithrall. Okay, yeah, I forgot about those guys. So yeah, I guess you would sort of mix them, although these guys are anti-large and fragile as hell, so they're kind of not the same thing. I still think the High Elves Pyrmane Company is a little bit more economical in a lot of regards, but I guess you could actually do this with the Wood Elves as well. Still, in addition to that, you've got the option of things like Treekin. I haven't really figured out a way to weave those into a High Elf army, but they're not necessarily too expensive for a Troll-type unit that's got 80 armor. It's got physical resistance, it's got missile resistance, it's got immune to psychology. Like, theoretically, you could just stand this in front of an enemy and just have it sponge missiles, I guess. I believe that the Treeman also has the missile resistance 15%. It does. So I guess if you really wanted to, you could stand one of these guys in front of a cannon, stack missile resistance up to like 80% or whatever, and have it just not take any damage from the cannons. That's a potential option. I don't necessarily find in the current state of the game that the tree units are the best of the large monster types, just because they don't have very good armor-piercing damage. They're extremely durable, but they're very, very slow, meaning that they're sort of meant to wade into cheap infantry, and you don't need to spend 1,575 on a big monster to do that. And what's worse, like, the Treekin aren't even necessarily that good at that. Their melee attack of 20 is so low that they just tend not to do a very good job of even clearing out cheap units. So, I mean, at least the tree man is pretty good at that. So, the big thing to take away here is Dryads. They're an excellent addition to the sort of roster for High Elves. in the situation where they're able to get them. So anyway, let's go take a look at a match where I've gone ahead and taken them. Would like to actually clear out my replays thing a little bit here before we do this, so let's go ahead and delete these. Alright. Alright, so this is a mirror match, Avalorn versus High Elves, so High Elves versus High Elves essentially. My opponent's gone for a sort of conventional type of wisdom for High Elves, which is that you go for a lot of the elite infantry there, you go for the Dragon Princes. I've gone for a very unconventional build here in that I've got only one elite unit of infantry, and that's the Pyramid Company. I've got the Scions of Mathlin because they're actually really excellent. I've got the 4 units of Dryads, some Spearmen just as flank security sort of thing, and we got the Everqueen and a Handmaiden. So all of that together is going to be pretty good. I have actually got the Archers buffed in this particular case, and we're going to go ahead and start firing volleys against the enemy's Swordmasters here. Now, my opponent is going to go ahead and start firing Eagle Claw Bolt Thrower single shots, and I'm pretty sure he's actually aiming it at Alarielle, but I'm not 100% sure about that because it feels like he sort of hits the Dryads a lot. But either way, whatever he's hitting, he's actually not dealing very much damage to them because the damage resistance and mitigation is so ridiculous right now that, like, it hits and it didn't actually really kill that much. It killed one guy from those single shots, which usually that would kill like 3 or 4 guys. Here, I think, like, that one killed one more, so he's killing sort of one person at a time with these volleys. I'm dealing a lot more damage with mine. Now, he should be doing the anti-infantry spread, but even that is going to get reduced down to practically nothing because we're resisting 20% of the damage there, we're reducing another 12% of the damage from her, and we're reducing another 12% of the damage from them, so we're taking like half damage. And normally, shield block chance does not work against artillery. These bonuses do. And if you're attacking Alarielle herself, she's resisting like over 50%. She's resisting even more. Mage runs up, tries to get off a Fury Convocation. I'm trying to get at their Dragon Princes with my Fireborn, but unfortunately, like, there's just too much stuff here that's a little bit too risky. I do end up getting them a little bit, but I am forced to sort of retreat back after I get the charge. So I get a good charge there. We're going to be able to deal some damage. I managed to dodge the Fury Convocation. It was a pretty badly placed one. He should have put them against the Dryads. And at this point in time, I'm focus charging into the center here, because I want to kill sort of one unit at a time. He's actually gone and sort of moved his Swordmasters to attack my Dragon Princes, which is a bit of a weird choice. He should have moved the Spears to that side there. So we're keeping these guys in clumps near this Pyramid Company, and we're going to try and keep them near Alarielle. And I think they're just still within range of the Scions of Mathlin. We're dropping Faw's Protection here as well. Going to let us sort of crush through the Spearman unit, like, basically super instantly. They're also friendly firing it, so... Comes around flank with some of their units, which is fine by me, basically. Over here, we're getting hit by Swordmasters. I'm forced to sort of spin around and fight the Swordmasters with these guys, and I'm unfortunately forced to send the Scions of Mathlin over to fight these, fend off these Dragon Princes, stop them from just completely killing all of my archers. But we have crushed this unit of Swordmasters, which is quite nice. Over here, we're just sort of holding a couple of units of Swordmaster and a Phoenix Guard. With a unit of Dryads and a unit of Spearmen. Neither of them are expected to win. This is the ball of troops where I'm expecting to actually win. We're dropping more spells down here to try and keep these guys buffed up by Alarielle, and it's doing a pretty okay job of that sort of thing. We're still seeing some shots raining down. I've still got my Handmaiden chucking some bonuses there. I don't know how these guys rallied so quickly, but whatever. They're still getting shot at by my bolt thrower. His cavalry, he knows that he has to keep away from mine, and he's going to basically be running around in circles. It's kind of annoying to me that he gets as many kills as he does, despite the fact that he spends the entire battle running away from my Swordmasters, but whatever. Phoenix Guards sort of get around and are kind of considering doing some stuff, but I'm still not catching his stupid Dragon Princes, really. He's technically being attacked in the rear. One of the problems I just realized is that he's got, like, resistance against fire, so... That's sort of the problem that I'm running into here, but still, it's enough of a bonus versus large that this is what I should be doing. Another Fury Convocation coming in. I do manage to just barely dodge this one. Like, the animation time and speed for this is so telegraphed that it's kind of stupid. Like, they need to reduce the telegraphing of that one by quite a lot, actually. Dragon Princes, he's still trying to flee his Dragon Princes away from mine, so I'm still causing kills. And at this point in time, we sort of busted through a couple of his units there. We've got the Pyramid Company and one unit of Dryads over here, plus Alarielle. We've sent some more units over to here to sort of slow down the enemy and sort of muck them about. Unit of Dryads up here manages to break through and continue along, and he's going to eventually run into their bolt thrower. Right now, it's just sort of chasing after this unit until it gets to the bolt thrower. It was my goal. Their mage sort of retreats. I've still got the bolt thrower firing. I should have switched over to this little knot of spearmen here, just to get rid of it from the field there, but in any event, Dragon Princes do end up tied into the Phoenix Guard, and I'm going to pull them out of that. I do not want them fighting that particular fight there. Should have charged again into just these. I just needed to get rid of these guys so they're not in the way, but I figured they'd waver and get out of there. Pure Main Company coming around to go slam into the Phoenix Guard. They're going to be actually pretty okay at that fight. Getting another charge in here against his stuff and curing my units with the lariat, or curing my units with the lariat here. Getting some arrow fire down onto their sword masters as well, which is going to help out quite a bit. And you can see lots of his units sort of wavering there. He's gone through my Signs of Mathlin, who've actually done a decent amount of damage to those Dragon Princes. But in any event, you can see the Pure Main Company just actually doing a really good job of tearing apart these Phoenix Guard. He's still trying to push his way into my bolt throwers, which is annoying, but it's fine. Over here, Lothran Seaguard, I'm charging them with the Dryads. The Dryads are so weak at this point in time that they're not going to win it, but that's fine. We're charging the Lariel into a unit of Swordmaster. She's not like Techless. She can actually do this and be okay. She's not great in this situation, but she'll be fine. We have got some supporting units. The Signs of Mathlin and the Handmaiden are both fairly close by, and we're going to get another good charge in with the Fireborn against those Swordmasters as well anyway. So Alariel, not actually that wimpy in terms of melee combat. She is able to do some pretty good stuff. Like, we're casting buff spells as well as this is happening, which gives us that physical resistance from the Shield of Sapphire, as well as a little bit more healing just army-wide from the Lifeblood. So all of that, really, really good stuff. And you can see that Swordmaster unit just gets trashed from that charge, giving the Signs of Mathlin the edge and enough of a bonus there, especially with all the physical resistance stacked together. We're looking at like 28% physical resistance between these two to sort of push through pretty effectively. Over here, Pure Main's still fighting with the Phoenix Guard, and they're going to win that one okay. Still chasing down these stupid Dragon Princes here. He's still trying to go after my archers and stuff like that. He probably should have actually just fought my Dragon Princes. I bet he would have won because of that's fire damage resistance, because it is 70%. It's very, very substantial, actually. Signs of Mathlin just chasing down some Swordmasters. Lariel, unfortunately his general's mounted, so I can't really get after them. This one unit of Lothran Seaguard has fended off like all of my little crappy attacks that I've sent after of like really weakened Dryad units, but we're sending a fairly healthy unit of Dryads this time to go beat up the Lothran Seaguard. Lothran Seaguard actually do not do very well at all against Dryads. Getting some big hits from our bows into the back of the Spearman unit, and they're going to be downed pretty quickly as a result of that. This unit of Dragon Princes is actually pretty unhealthy at this point in time as well, so I don't really have to care too much about what's going on as far as that goes, but we're still chipping away at them, and now that they're sort of surrounded, they're going to have a bit of a morale break. So, yeah, the Dryads in this game don't get a ton of kills or anything like that. I didn't really expect them to be able to get tons and tons of kills, but they do really, really well compared to what would have happened if I had Spearmen. If I had 6 units of Spearmen, I don't think that I would have necessarily been able to win this fight, because they just don't have the sort of offensive statistics required to do what I ended up doing in this particular match. And I just beat 4 heavily armored units with only 1 anti-armor unit in my entire army, basically. Like, you could consider the Eagle Claw Bolt Thrower anti-armor, but it didn't really actually get too much damage off. It killed 32 Swordmasters, which is pretty okay, but not trading necessarily too super efficiently. Pure Main Company did a really good job there, 117 kills. We got 8 kills on this one Dryad unit, so very disappointing. 11 kills on them, 5 kills on them, 27 on the Signs of Mathlin, so we expect these guys to do better, which is good there. But 54, 52, 52 kills on the Dryads. These are good numbers for Dryads. They don't normally kill that much. They're more of a holding unit because of that sort of resistance against physical damage, that sort of high armor, and those sort of good overall sort of statistics for sort of holding a line. Archers, not very many kills, typical sort of them in situations where they're up against this much armor, but they did almost kill the mage, and were quite good at sort of distracting a lot of my opponent's units. His Dragon Princes did a lot better than mine, since mine were chasing his around the map while his were able to get after my archers for a little bit. I didn't have any archers that I could get after, so I didn't really have as much that I could do with mine, but yeah, like, the big thing here that we can look at is the difference in terms of performance between my Dryads, which is what ended up fighting the Spearmen for a large portion of this. 002 kills on the Spearmen. So the Dryads were definitely doing a much, much better job in clearing out infantry. I think this is the one that sort of ran off without the Pyramid Company in the initial clash against and fought against a Swordmaster unit in the Phoenix Guard. Anybody that can take 8 kills out of that situation is going to have held up pretty well considering what these types of units are. So yeah, I think that these guys are going to be a fantastic addition, especially like if you're worried about Dread Corsair, or not Corsairs, the Dread Spears or Dread Swords, anything like that. These guys are going to be a fantastic addition to be able to crush those kinds of units really cost effectively by comparison to taking Spearmen or being forced to take elite units. So anyway, that's my episode for now. Hope you found it enjoyable, and of course, as always, hope to see you guys all next time.